Patriotic Ideals, Episode 6. Welcome, fellow patriots. My name is Author Larry. My channel is Patriotic Ideals. This is a political channel where I discuss the challenges facing our great nation and offer some solutions that I consider appropriate. If you like the content, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free, and your support will help me grow my channel. Let's chat. Today we're going to talk about the Federal Reserve System. What is the Federal Reserve System? Is there any provision for a Federal Reserve System in the Constitution? Why does it exist? The Federal Reserve System appears to create and control almost all of the money in our country and appears to be in almost complete control over our economy. How did that happen? Why did it happen? Who authorized it? Who controls it? And what is its purpose? I do not think any ordinary citizen of the United States would be able to answer any of those questions. We are not meant to know or understand why the central banks of so many nations exist, or for what purpose they are intended to serve. The best book I have read on this subject is titled High Priest of Treason, the Federal Reserve, which was written in 1994 by Melvin Stamper and published by Documentary Legal Services Publishing of St. Augustine, Florida. I get the very distinct impression that the Federal Reserve System and the central banks of the many nations are the primary tools through which the New World Order is taking full control over all of the world's money and destroying the economic systems by which we live. I have read that in the United States, the Federal Reserve System was created in 1913. It is my understanding that our forefathers, when they wrote the Constitution and founded our nation, they did not intend or authorize any such banking organization, and that it is completely unconstitutional. After rejection by earlier presidents such as Andrew Jackson, I have read that presidents from Woodrow Wilson and later, with the exception of Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, have all come to be under the control of foreign leadership and promoted this illegal control over our American currency. The Federal Reserve System was established by major American and foreign bankers and wealthy families, including the Rothschilds in Europe and the Rockefellers and New York bankers in the United States. Is it possible that, since practically all of our recent presidents have been controlled by foreign elites and have established our foreign policy accordingly, and they now have total control over our money supply and economy, that our entire nation is now actually under control of foreign elites and the United Nations? It is becoming much better known that all departments of our federal government have been weaponized against the American people. Are we in serious danger of losing our freedoms and capitalist way of life? When our government has the planned total control over our lives it is establishing, it will still tell us we are living in democracy. It is only capitalism and religion that still need to be made to disappear, it seems. The method by which the Federal Reserve Bank continually increases our national debt and endangers our economy is complicated. I have attended several meetings and a class offered by the John Birch Society offering explanations that few will understand. Some of the more obvious destructive policies of the central banks are easier to see. Faulty economic policy on the subject of inflation that helps the central banks maintain control over our economy is taught in practically all the major universities in our country. We are taught that manufacturing all our products for consumers overseas in foreign countries will reduce inflation because cost of production is cheaper overseas. As a result, manufacturing companies have been sending all our manufacturing jobs to overseas countries since the 1970s, and this was accelerated in the 1990s when Clinton opened new trade with China, India, Canada, and Mexico. We now have no reliable local supply. In the meantime, our presidents have dramatically increased government borrowing and spending, increasing demand for products. Any economist worth his salt will tell you that increased demand for which there is no local supply will increase inflation. In fact, the annualized inflation rate in America since the mid-60s has been almost 10%, which is, of course, totally economically destructive. And that is not to mention that our nation is now $35 trillion in debt, and it has made commitments already to increase that to $50 trillion. We are taught that the Federal Reserve, by increasing interest rates, will reduce demand and control inflation. The central bank can do no such thing. Raising interest rates will cost people more to buy cars, homes, and appliances and raise credit card rates. Raising loan rates to loans to manufacturers who build products will cause suppliers to charge more for the products they sell you, and they will not be able to borrow as much. The central bank raising rates is not only itself inflationary, but it reduces the economy by reducing economic activity while at the same time lending additional money to the government. The Federal Reserve System is extremely damaging to our economic system and should be eliminated. As a result of a class about the Federal Reserve taught by the John Birch Society, I learned something even more incriminating. You may remember that the primary problem during the 2008-2010 Great Recession was that banks had made too many bad housing loans, and a number of banks were at risk of failure. As a result, Congress approved $850 billion to be given to banks in the United States to bail them out. As a result of this approval, the Federal Reserve Bank illegally paid out $16 trillion to banks, much of which went to foreign banks. This was apparently learned by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, who studied Federal Reserve activity and issued a report about it. If this is true, and it likely is although it has been covered up, the presidents of the 12 central banks at that time committed the greatest robbery of all time and gave $15 trillion of the American people's money to their banker friends without congressional approval. If we cannot dismantle the Federal Reserve System and regain control over our money supply and our economy, the Federal Reserve will help our New World Order appointed presidents destroy our American way of life. We must be certainly close, dangerously close already. I could not make a more compelling case for voting for Donald Trump for president in November. He is hated by world elites for his opposition to their plans for worldwide control of the population. But I fear that it will take 10 Ronald Reagans and 10 Donald Trumps to undo the damage that already has been done to our American way of life. My books discuss this and many other problems and are available for sale on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The first book, Past, Present, and Future of Planet Earth, discusses the birth and growth of intelligent life on our planet, culminating in the creation of the greatest society ever created in the history of mankind. Love Letters to America honors our forefathers who created this great country, but makes us aware of the many problems developing in our society and offers some solutions. I have written 33 love letters to America to identify some of these problems and offer some solutions. If you like this content, give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Membership is free and it will help me grow the channel. Your comments are always welcome and I will respond to all that I can. Look for weekly episodes. Next week we will be talking about the size of our government. This is author Larry signing off for Patriotic Ideals. Hope to see you again next week.